Hi everyone, welcome back to Papercraft Possibilities. This is Susan, and today we're going to switch it up a little and we're going to be working on some Valentine's Day cards. I may have to split this up into two videos, time will tell, just because there's some details in here and some techniques I wanted to go over. So let's roll the intro and get this started. Okay, we're back, and I wanted to go over some of the supplies that you'll need to make this particular card, a slimline card. And if you buy one of our card making workshops, the bases of these cards come in those kits. So I am using the Sweet Memories card making kit, but I'm only using the paper from it. So I've got some scraps here. I've got mulberry. This is one of the decorative papers from that kit, and again, I'll have links to everything that is available down below. Here is some daisy white, or some white cardstock. This is a die and excuse me, a die and stamp set that actually was from Christmas. If it is still available, I'm not sure. I'll link it down below. But what I use in here are the bows, to add the bows onto here. Then what I've done also is I've added some rhinestones, and I'll link these below also, that go in the middle of the bows. And I have used an embossing plate that was from a kit that came out in the last year. So if it's available, I'll let you know. But it adds some texture to the back of the card. It's right here. So here is that embossing folder. And what was it called? It came as a well, I got it as a bundle. I think you can buy this alone. It's called Sprigs and Leaves. So I've used that. I've used some ribbon. And one thing I didn't pull out, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, I've had this forever. If I can find something that compares to it, I'll link it down below. But these are some stacking hearts, and they're stitched hearts, and I've used them here in the center of this card. So let me do some die cutting, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I wanted to show you what I'm doing before I go over to my machine to cut these out and do some embossing. This is going to be the embossed area that is right here on the card. And I do cut it to the same size as the base, even though I'm cutting it smaller. So it's 3.5, if you can read that, 3.5 by 8.5, which is the base size of the card. If you'll notice in here on the embossing plate or embossing card, it doesn't go all the way to the sides. So I like to give it that kind of extra space in here. So when it embosses, it may shrink up just a little. So I like to give it the full size of the base of the card, and then I'll cut it down. Then I have the base of the card and then the second layer. And again, this is 3.5 by 8.5. So this will be the bottom. Then I've got the next layer, which is the mulberry paper. And that's going to come in about 1/4 inch on all sides. Then I'm going to take this heart and I'm going to flip this over. And again, you want the sharp side of the die. It's not really sharp, but the cutting edge of the die to go down. Let's tape this up a little. And I reuse my tape, so it's right here next to me in my filming area. And then when it gets, I need more, then I pull more out. Here is the bow, and again, we're going to put the edge side down, and we're going to need 3 of those. Tack that down. A little bit of tape. I might have to pull some out here in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to head over to the machine. I'm going to cut 3 of these out of the daisy white, 3 of these out of mulberry, and I'm going to emboss this card, and I'll be right back to you. Okay, I'm back from doing all my embossing and cutting. I've got 3 hearts out of the mulberry. I've got 3 bows out of the daisy white there. And then I need to take this and cut this to 3 by 8. This is the embossing panel I had here. And it's a little tricky because you've got to take some off of each side here. So you just kind of have to cut a little and then measure and cut a little and measure. Let's see what I can come up with here. Let's see. Cut a little here. I don't want to go any less than 3, which is right here. So let me come up and, oops, it's getting caught on something here. I think I'm going to take just a hair off of the other side still. That should do that. Okay, so that's 8. Excuse me, that's 3, pardon me. And then we want this to be 8. So I'm going to take off right there, and I think I'm going to take a little off the other end. I'm trying not to cut too much of the embossing off, but like I had mentioned, there's some dead space here on each side of the embossing plate to allow for shrinkage, if you will. So let's measure this again. I just want to make sure we're at 3 by 8. Okay. We're good. Okay, so let me show you how we put this all together. First, we're going to take our decorative paper. We're going to layer that up with the mulberry paper. Get it as even as you can. Again, this isn't going to be perfect because we are not perfect human beings. We try. Okay, but it's a handmade card, so that's what's important. So then we're going to take our embossed layer, and we're going to take the ribbon of your choice. And what I kind of want to do is figure out where my hearts are at, and kind of just get an approximate. And then I'm going to put some tape down. Just a little bit. I want it hidden behind the hearts. And you want to put it as center as you can. Kind of brush down on those tape things that tape spots that you had made. Then we're going to flip this over on the reverse side, and we're going to tape up this whole thing. Now, goodness knows you don't need all of this ribbon back here, so we're going to cut some of that off. You know, if you're mailing this, the less bulk, the better. We're already making some bulk. Okay, you want to pull this over, but not too much. Again, rub that down. Take this one here too, push that down. And then I want to put some more tape over this so it holds it nice and tight when I layer this up. Okay. So we should have a little bit of that mulberry showing. Again, you try and get it as close as you can. Okay. We're almost there. There is a front and back to your hearts if you have a stitched heart die like I have, so make sure you pay attention to that. What I like to do is put the one in the center first. There we go. I thought too, I'm gonna make one of these for my granddaughter, and I thought about putting like her initial, my husband's initial. I thought it'd be kind of cute, but you use your imagination on that. But I thought it'd be cute to do another die cut inside of the die cut. There we go. We're kind of lining up the points there. If you don't find these sticking with your rolling tape, you can always use some liquid glue, and that would work really well too. And that's what I'm going to be actually using here on my bows. So let me get a scrap piece of paper out just to make sure that my glue is open and ready to go. It is. And again, pay attention to these bows because there is a front side and a back side. So a little bit of glue there. Let me pull you down here into the screen a little bit better. This is my Barely glue. It's B-E-A-R-L-Y. It's down in my supplies below. But I like it because it dries clear and it's easy to use. It doesn't clump up like a lot of craft glues. And then I actually put it in these little tiny bottles, again, which are listed below because they're easier to handle. And it's a really tiny nozzle, if you can see on there. So you only get a little bit of glue at once. And if you have arthritis like I do, they're easier to handle. Take out some of that glue. Okay, so we have one last thing to do on here, at least for this card, unless you wish to do more. And if you do, I'd love to see examples. Let me grab my little pointy tool here, put some of this out of the picture. And the finishing touches, I like to use this tool to work with rhinestones. Sometimes you might want to put more glue on these two behind, but I'm not going to do that this time. Pull it down in the picture some more. There's that. And here. I'd love to hear what some of you do on Valentine's Day. We have yet to determine that this year because we're new to the Seattle area, and with the weather, we're just kind of playing it by ear. So there you go. There's the one card, and you would take this and tape it to the front of your card base like this. And if you want to make your own card base, this would be 8.5 by 7 would be the cut that you would need, and then you would score it down the middle, obviously. So there you go. There's one card. Let me get the other one ready to go. All right, slight change of plans. I went back and looked at my supplies, and I ran out of the decorative paper, or the mulberry paper. Pardon me. So in the same set of Sweet Memories, same card making set, we're going to use this decorative paper and the Periwinkle solid cardstock to make this. We again are going to use the bow from the Silver Bells card making set. And we are going to use this set, which is, I love it. I've used all the sentiments basically. And the die that is in here is perfect for Valentine's Day. And it cuts out the insides here, you'll see, but not the outside, which is perfect for layering. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. So let me get everything set up and cut, and I'll come back to you. Okay, I wanted to experiment with something, and I wanted to bring you along for that. When I originally cut this card, I cut the die through 2 whole layers, and it was a little iffy. It was a lot of thickness. So I'm going to try and cut in on this. I'm going to kind of gut this piece and see. I'm going to come in an inch. An inch still is going to be a little into this. So we'll see what happens there. But let's take this to 1 inch here. All right. It's 1 inch-ish. Does that make sense? So what will happen then is I'm going to take the darker side of this. Again, Close to My Heart's cardstock is lighter on one side and dark on the other. And I'm going to tape that down. We'll see what happens there. You're learning with me. I just think we might have more success. Remember to only tape here on the outsides. Even this up as best you can. All right, I'm gonna tape this down. And I'm gonna make sure this is down really well. Let me get some more of my favorite tape here. Just want to make sure this doesn't move. And I'm going to put the bow up in there, so I think that'll work well. Okay, let me run this to machine. I'll be right back. Okay, so that worked out beautifully by just kind of cutting out the back on here. I didn't go far enough down here, and I probably wouldn't. I would have probably put tape over in here and not here when I was layering this up, because that made it a little bit more difficult. But it worked out beautifully though, other than that small little area. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna tape this up, all with the exception of the heart. Do not tape the heart, and put it on my card base. Let's see, there we go. And I like to get it right up to the crease on our card base, because if you need to trim anything off, if for some reason your cuts are too short, you can just kind of cut the whole card at the bottom and no one knows. Okay, so let's get our bow on there, of which my bow has flown away. Okay, I cut another bow. Let me pop out the insides of this. This is my pokey tool. Love this tool. And let's get the glue out. Again, I'm going to use my liquid glue here. Just need a dot. I'm liking this blue just as much as I like the pink. I could see making a set of these and giving it for like a teacher's gift or Mother's Day. Just make a box of like 10, 12 of these and give it to someone. Oh, it'd be a great gift. And it'd be a lot easier if you mass produce them. Yeah, I never remember this one. On this one, I did go ahead and use the mulberry inside. And go back to this stamp. This is the one that comes with this big heart die, which is kind of deceiving because it's not pictured on the front of it, but it comes with it. Actually, I think it was a bundle I got this in. So I'll try and find it again for you. But all of these sentiments on here are perfect for just about any reason where you want to tell someone you love them, you're thinking of them. There is one Valentine saying on here that says, "Be mine." But other than that, you could use this stamp and die cut so much. And I'm going to go ahead and make some sets, I think. So let me finish up and put a rhinestone on here or a little sparkly dot. And look there. God, you could use some scraps too and make a set of these. Beautiful. I like the pink and the blue. I'm glad I ran out of that mulberry. Perfect. Okay, let me move on to the next one. All right, we're moving on to the next card. And with this card, I was thinking something that could be a little bit more masculine. So that's why I've done the black and the gold, but I thought it would be perfect for a male for Valentine's Day or anytime you want to tell them that you love them. So to use this, we're going to use the stacked heart dies again. And I'm going to make it slightly different this time. I'm going to kind of stack some different shapes of hearts, or not different shapes, but different sizes. We're going back to the Sprigs and Leaves set. Last time we used the embossing plate. This time we're going to use this background die. And you can tell I just used this because I have some pieces in there. When you cut this and you have all these extra pieces, do not throw these away because you can use these on something else. Or there are various ways that you could use this, and you could take all the pieces and lay them out in a design and then lift this up and make a card that way. I'll have to show you someday. So anyways, don't throw these away. We have some black cardstock. Then I have some textured metallic cardstock, which I've had forever. And I don't even think it's available anymore, but you could use any kind of a metallic cardstock, or any type of cardstock, if you will. It's just the shape that we're going to be cutting out of this. And then I'm going to do a little bit different procedure, and I'm going to use some metallic gold ink. So there we go. Let me get started. We'll be right back. All right, I've just finished cutting out my hearts out of my gold foil. I'm going to push those aside. And I've used this cutting plate. And I just wanted to show you how easy it is to pop out the insides of this. Again, so you can use them on something else. So, still have some tape back here. Give me my little pokey tool again. Oh my goodness. Just got to get the edge of it. There we go. See all those pieces that you can use on something else? You could even use this to cut out in green and then use these on, you know, a wreath you want to make, on a scrapbook page. It makes so many at once, which is so nice. I am noticing something though. I think I might have to recut this. I cut off the bottom of it, or I didn't get it through my die cut machine right. Can you see that down here? It didn't do the stitching like it's done on the other sides. So I'm going to run this through my machine one more time, which means I'll just have more bits and pieces. Love it. Well, that was interesting. You all just had my whole camera fall on my head. Let me see if I can square it back up. I'm going to have to do something about that because that hurt. Okay. Let's get back to this. I ran it through the machine after I got conked on my head. Put this over my scraps. Save my tape. And let's get this off of here in the corner. Okay, I'm just checking this out to make sure we have a stitched side on all four sides, and we do. So I will put that aside with my gold hearts over here. Let me clean my work surface up a little. Okay, I'm going to take a piece of black cardstock again, and we're going to cut that to 8.5. And on this one, I'm just going to cut it a little bit bigger than 3 a half, let's just say 4. I don't want to mix up these pieces with this one, so I'm going to set that aside. And I've got my craft mat out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this metallic ink, and I'm going to keep my fingers over here to the left-hand side as much as I can. And I'm going to just wipe this metallic ink as much as you want. It's a kind of an artistic thing. I kind of want an up and down motion. So it's getting there. I can tell my fingers are going to be full of gold ink after this. All right, I think I have the coverage. Now I want to get the lines kind of all going in a vertical manner, but I'm having a hard time keeping the ink over here on this side. So all right, let's get a little bit more on here. Okay, kind of what we want. Let's put it aside to dry for a few minutes. I think that'll work out great. I'm not looking for perfect because it's going to sit behind the black die cut that we made. Let's clean this up. Okay, so I've got the stencil out from this whole set. It came as a bundle. And we're just going to do some really light stenciling on this card. I don't want it really bold. I just want to have just a slight kind of a shadowing effect, if you will. And then we're going to do the stamping of a sentiment. Just keep your fingers down there if you want to see what it's looking like. So I've got that there. I've got that there. I like how that looks. So I'm going to put this aside. Put my card base aside. I'm going to wipe this off because you don't want that staying on there. And I'm going to turn this over because it has the foam on this side. And I'm going to get my sentiments out. And I combined 2 sentiments when I've done this before, and I liked it because it looked a little bit more modern. We're going to do the love and me and you. And let me get some of my stamping blocks. You want to try and keep, again, to the kind of the same size of the stamp. Try and make it as straight as you can there. There's that one. And if you need to use a little bit bigger stamp, then what you need to do is kind of put it at the bottom. And I'll show you why here in a minute. Let me get a piece of scratch paper and my ink. We're going to use the Intense Black ink. It's just kind of my go-to. I always have it at my desk. So let me turn this around like this. And when I'm stamping, I will try and put my stamp that I'm using down towards the bottom, which this one I did do a really great job. And that just means you have less chance of getting ink up here on your stamping block. I have a sample piece of paper here. I'm going to try that one more time. Much better. Okay, we've done our practice. So now I'm going to take this over here. This foam on the back of my mat here makes it easier for stamping. It makes the stamps, you're a lot more successful stamping. Make sure this is inked up really well. I'm going to come towards the middle top. And we're going to punch down. Not real hard, but, you know, firm. Hold it there for a minute. Come straight up. There we go. There's that one. And we're going to bring in my practice piece of paper again. And you'll see here again that my stamp is at the top of the stamping block that's bigger than I actually need, but was the best size I had that I grabbed out of my drawer. We're going to come here, push down, firm but not firmly. Does that make sense? Very good. The practice looks good. Let's ink her back up. And come in here, center it up. Try and do it as straight as you can. Again, we're all human, nothing's perfect. There we go. So, put this aside so I don't put my fingers into it. Check my fingers. Let me wipe off my stamps real quick. So, let's put the pieces together. Let me fold this over. Let me get my mat out of the way. Let me make sure that this is dry before I start putting my hands into it. I think we're good. So this needs to be 3.5 inches wide. So I'm going to cut off this part where I kind of held my fingers onto it. I think we're good because this is going to cover up. Yeah, that'll be perfect. This little part that I didn't get quite as good because that's where I was holding it. It'll be covered up by this die cut. So on this die cut, what we want to do is we want to use our liquid ink. I always say that. Some liquid glue, but we want to do it kind of fast. And you'll see that there's some real tiny pieces in here that we don't want popping up. So I'm going to test this real quick. Make sure it was still open. We kind of want to go through here quickly and do this. Where it may have dried up, it looks like it dries pretty quickly, so you got to work quick. So there we go. All right, I'm going to keep it down towards the bottom. I might cut out one more heart and put it up there. Again, I always line this up as best I can on the curve, because if it's short on this side, you can cut this side, but you can't cut this side. So there you go. So the inside is stenciled with the metallic. You have a little bit of a glittery there, and you have the stamp, Love Me and You. There you go. Now we're making this card. So we are going to emboss the inside and cut out the inside here. I think it's important that we know where the score line is before we do the cutting on the heart. So we want 4 1/4. So find 4 1/4 here. You want to press, but not too firmly. Bend that over like that. We're done with this little guy, so we'll set him aside. When you're making cards, you get so many supplies out. Okay, so we're gonna tape this little guy down. I'm gonna run him through our machine and I'll be right back. So we're going to do some embossing. So first we want to, I'm gonna put this up in my stamp positioner. And I just always make sure everything is down here in the right-hand corner. Every time I open up this lid, I make sure that we're in the same position. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this stamp that I used on the other card. Try not to touch this card as much as you can. And I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Okay, so we're gonna put the lid of our stamp positioner down. We're gonna pick those up. Again, we're gonna put our card, try to use the darkest side of the red there. We're gonna put that down, and then what we're going to do is we're gonna bring over our static releasing powder here and put it all over here. And this is, we're gonna use some Versamark on this, the watermark stamp pad. We're gonna come over here and stamp this up, put those off the screen. Boy, my camera is now all cockeyed, sorry. After it fell on my head, it just has a mind of its own. We're still crooked. I'm sorry, guys. Let me fix this. Okay. Hopefully it wasn't like that for too long. So again, our card is in the bottom right-hand corner. We're gonna push down on this, but not too much. We don't want, when you're working with letters and numbers, you don't want to smush them too much or they lose their shape and you won't be able to read them. So I can see that. Now you're not gonna be able to see this. You're just, how can I say that? I said that wrong. I can see it here, but it's a clear, like jelly type of ink. And what it basically does is it's going to hold on the embossing powder that I put down. And the only place that embossing powder should stick, if we've done our static powder correctly, it should only stick to this. Let's see if I can put, see, you can kind of barely see it up there. So I'm going to put this aside for just a minute. I'm not going to move my letters off of there quite yet, or my sentiments. What I'm going to do is, again, you don't want to move too slowly on this. I've got this down here. I'm using some scrap paper as usual. I'm going to take this. Again, I'm trying to keep too much of my fingers off of this. This is my very fine black embossing powder. I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it over and kind of give it a little bit of a thump. I think I want it a little bit heavier here, so I'm going to try one more time. That looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and very carefully put this back into its container. And I will normally, once I've done that, throw this piece of paper away. All right, now I think I can hold this with my fingers. You're gonna need your heat gun. And let it heat up for just a minute. This will get hot, so please be careful. You're gonna see this change. It melts this dust or the embossing powder that you put on here. And I try and do some on the back to keep it even too, so the paper doesn't get crinkled up too much. You can kind of turn it at an angle and see where the powder is melted and where it hasn't. Perfect. Okay, please be careful with this if you have children in the house, okay? Just Mine has a little kickstand on it, if you will, and I just kind of put it over here to the side until I know it's you know, not hot anymore, and then I'll put it away. So let's bring back out our card, and we're going to be putting that down there like that. That should be nice and dry. It only takes a minute. Sometimes it does cause a little bit of warping, so when you put this down, just, you know, flatten it out as best you can. And, you know, once it's down for a little while, it'll get rid of the warping there. All right, on this particular card, I did have some little sequin mixtures. Let's see where they are. That were black, and I put them on. They're right in here. Okay, they're right there now. So there you go. Hopefully if you found some value in this video, or you could laugh with me when my camera fell on my head, and I made you laugh today. Hopefully you'll give me a thumbs up, and you'll leave a comment below. Again, I'll be giving away a stamp set at the end of the month, and I look forward to seeing you all once again. Stay tuned. All right, after this, I'll put in some still shots of these cards. And until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.